In the quiet village of Obigbo, there stood a house that no one dared speak of openly. It was an ordinary looking house, 2 stories, with a small garden in the front and a rusty iron gate. Yet, for over a decade, it had claimed the lives of anyone who dared to live within its walls. Locals called it the House of Whispers, but no one knew why those whispers always ended in screams. The house had a notorious reputation, though it was always whispered about rather than spoken aloud. The landlord, an elderly man named Mr. Ajadi, was well aware of the house's sinister past, but he never mentioned it to potential renters. He had once been a well-respected man in Obigbo, but as the years went by and the debts piled up, he became a shadow of his former self, haunted by his own cowardice. You see, 10 years ago, Mr. Ajadi had tried to reveal the truth about the house to the authorities. The ghost of a young woman, brutally murdered on the night of a red moon, had visited him in his dreams, warning him to keep a secret. The thieves had killed her for the money she saved to pay for her mother's surgery the next day. But that money was never used, and her mother died a slow, painful death, leaving the ghost with a deep, burning need for revenge. The ghost had warned Mr. Ajadi that if he ever told anyone about her presence in the house, she would not only kill him, but also possess and slaughter his entire family. Terrified and guilt-ridden, Mr. Ajadi kept his silence, hoping that each new tenant would somehow escape the curse, but deep down he knew better. Over the years, 4 different families had rented the house. Each time, they lasted not more than 5 months before they met their gruesome ends. The first tenant, a young couple newlywed, had been the first to fall victim. The husband was found in the bathroom, his wrists slashed open. The wife was discovered in the kitchen, her face contorted in terror as she had plunged a knife into her chest repeatedly. The police ruled it a murder-suicide, but those who knew the couple couldn't believe it. The second tenant, a family of 4, 2 parents and their twin daughters, moved in shortly after. The daughters were found lifeless in their beds, their face pale, their eyes wide open. The parents were found hanging from the ceiling fan in the living room, their bodies swaying gently as though they had been placed there by someone else. The cause of death was never determined. The third tenant, an elderly couple who wanted a peaceful retirement. The husband was found sitting in his favorite chair, his neck twisted at an unnatural angle. The wife was found at the bottom of the stairs, her body broken as if she had been thrown down with great force. The neighbors heard nothing, saw nothing. The fourth tenant, a single mother and her teenage son. The boy was found dead in his room, having drowned in a bathtub filled with blood. The mother was found in the garage. Carbon monoxide poisoning was the official cause of death, but no one could explain why her face was frozen in a look of pure terror. Each time, Mr. Ajadi watched from the shadows as the police came and went. Baffled by the inexplicable death, he felt the weight of the ghost curse bearing down on him, but his fear of losing his family kept him silent. 10 years had passed since the first death when a new family arrived. A man named Emeka, his wife Chika, and their 3 young children. They had come from the city looking for a fresh start in the quiet village. Mr. Ajadi, now frail and trembling, rented the house to them without a word of warning. His heart ached with guilt, but he told himself that maybe, just maybe, they would be the ones to survive. But within 3 months, the curse struck again. It began with the children. The 2 younger ones, aged 7 and 9, were found dead in their playroom, having electrocuted themselves by sticking their fingers into a faulty socket. The third child, a 12-year-old girl named Amara, survived, but only because she had been at school when the tragedy occurred. Next, the husband, Emeka, was found hanging from the ceiling of the master bedroom. The police called it suicide, citing financial troubles, but Chika knew better. She had seen the look in his eyes the night before. a look of absolute terror as he whispered about the woman in white who watched him from the shadows. Devastated and overwhelmed with grief, Chika was left alone with her surviving daughter. She couldn't understand what had happened to her family, why they had been taken from her, why had Emeka, a loving father and husband, taken his own life, and why had her children died so tragically. The questions gnawed at her until she couldn't bear it anymore. One evening, as the weight of her sorrow threatened to crush her, Chika decided to end it all. She left her daughter at home and wandered into the nearby woods, intent on finding a quiet place to take her own life. But as she neared a secluded clearing, she encountered a man, a pastor who had been praying in the woods. The pastor, a kind and wise man named Pastor Samuel, immediately sensed darkness around Chika. He approached her courteously, asking her what had brought her to such a desperate state. When she explained her intentions, Pastor Samuel had a vision, a powerful one that revealed the truth about the house and the ghosts that haunted it. He saw the young woman, murdered on the night of the red moon, clutching a large sum of money meant for her mother's surgery. He saw the thieves who had killed her, their faces twisted with greed and malice, and he saw her spirit, trapped in the house, bound by her rage and sorrow, determined to kill anyone who dared to live there. Pastor Samuel also saw the landlord, Mr. Ajadi, tormented by the ghost threats. He saw how the ghost had promised to destroy Ajadi's family if he ever refused her presence. It was then that Pastor Samuel knew what had to be done. Pastor Samuel took Chika back to the house, knowing that time was running out. When they arrived, they found Amara, the surviving daughter, already possessed by the vengeful spirit. The girl's eyes were vacant, her hands trembling as she reached for a knife on the kitchen counter. With great urgency, Pastor Samuel began the exorcising, praying fervently as he tried to drive the spirit out of the girl's body. The air grew thick with tension as the ghost fought back, screaming and lashing out through Amara. But Pastor Samuel was strong, his faith unwavering. As the ghost's grip on Amara weakened, Pastor Samuel had one final vision. He saw the spirit's connection to the house, and he saw how the landlord's silence had allowed the curse to continue. In that moment, Pastor Samuel made a decision. He called upon the spirit, promising to help her find peace if she would release her hold on the living. In a final desperate plea, Pastor Samuel addressed the ghost directly. He acknowledged her pain, her loss, and the injustice done to her. He promised that he would see to it that the truth of her death was revealed, that the landlord would face the consequences of his action, and that her mother's memory would be honored. The ghost, weakened and weary from years of torment, finally relented. She released her hold on Amara, who collapsed into her mother's arms, exhausted but alive. True to his word, Pastor Samuel confronted Mr. Ajadi, forcing him to confess the truth to the authorities. The landlord, broken by guilt and fear, admitted everything: the ghost threats, the murders, and his own cowardice. The house was finally abandoned, left to decay and crumble as a monument to the suffering it had caused. But before it could fall completely into ruin, Pastor Samuel returned one last time. He held a small private ceremony to honor the memory of the young woman who had been killed for her money. He prayed for her soul, asking that she find peace in the afterlife. As he did, the air around the house grew calm, the lingering presence of the ghost finally lifting. Chika and her daughter moved away, leaving the cursed house and its dark history behind them. They never forgot the horror they had faced, but they found solace in the knowledge that the ghost had been put to rest and that no one else would suffer the same fate. Years later, as the house lay in ruins, a new developer purchased the land, planning to build a new community center. As the construction began, workers unearthed an old, rusted box buried deep beneath the foundation. Inside, they found a collection of personal belongings, letters, photographs, and a small purse containing the money the young woman had saved for her mother's surgery. Unbeknownst to them, Disturbing these items reignited the restless spirit. That night, as the moon turned blood red once again, strange things began to happen on the construction site. Tools disappeared, workers reported hearing whispers in the wind, and the site became plagued with accidents. The developer, skeptical of the supernatural, dismissed the workers, fears as mere superstition. But one night, as he stayed late at the site to review the plans, he encountered something he could not explain. A cold, suffocating presence filled the air, and he felt an unseen force push him towards the edge of the half-built structure. Just as he was about to fall, the presence vanished, leaving him shaking and terrified. The ghost wrath had not been fully quenched, and her presence lingered. So guys, this is where I'm going to be ending this story. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also turn on the notification button so that you can be notified whenever I drop the part 2 of this story. Thank you.